Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the Roomies Digest. My name's Christine and in today's video we are going to be doing another book talk. As you guys are probably painfully aware, if you've been keeping up with this channel, you know that I am doing a complete reread of the ACOTAR series. So in today's video, we are going to get into the third book in that series, which is none other than A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm so excited. We have so much to talk about. Bum, bum, da 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 da, bum, bum, da. This book is chock full of action and political intrigue and betrayals and love and death and all kinds of things, and it just really makes me feel all the feels. Out of all the books, I think this one is the one that made me squeal the most. This one's the one that made me tear up the most. This is the one that made my heart hurt the most. I actually really love the acronym of this because it's ACOWAR. ACOWAR. Anyway, I think about that a lot because I'm like, did she plan that on purpose? Did she? I feel like no, but maybe. I'm not sure. She literally is a genius in her own way, that or extremely lucky. So in today's video, if you clicked on this link, you know that we are going to be talking about ACOWAR. If you have never read any of the books in this series follows our main character, Feyre, who is a human that gets thrown into this fairyland universe. Wow, that's like the most basic explanation of this series that I could possibly give anybody. But if you have been keeping up with this series, you know that some stuff goes down in the first and second books, and in this book it is literally no different. So without giving any spoilers, obviously this book follows Feyre as she goes into a huge conflict, a huge war in the fairy realm, and she has to make decisions, she has to form alliances, she's got to fight for her people and the people that she wants to keep safe, her family, her friends. There's a lot going on in this book, so let's get into the details. So this book rings in at 699 pages, and though it's not too much more than the last book, that is a honking number. 700 is intimidating, but I will say that the pacing in this book is probably the best pacing in the series, at least to me. I feel like we are steadily going towards the main plot of the book, which is great. I was not bored at all while reading this, and I squealed so much. Like, I squealed in the last one, but this one really has the buddings of my favorite relationship in it. So like, it's just a good time all in all. We do start off this book with Rhysand's point of view, and then it goes back into Feyre's for most of the book. So I do believe that Sarah J. Maas is trying to segue us into the third person omniscient perspective, which of course she wrote the next book after this in A Court of Frost and Starlight. I think she was just trying that out a little bit in this book to see if people completely hated it, and honestly, like, I really don't hate it. Like, do I really need Rhysand's perspective? Not really. I don't really need that because I'm not like interested in that. But when we get to the next couple books, I will be very interested. Most of the book is in first person from Feyre's perspective, and like I said, she is trying to form alliances, build up a force that she can fight in this conflict with, and there also are a ton of characters in this book. Like, it would not be a Sarah J. Maas if she didn't have the friends to family trope, which of course is running rampant in this book, and also another enemies to potential lovers in a couple of relationships. There's also a relationship in here that is like a love triangle, but it's not necessarily a love triangle relationship up front. You just know that there is something going on and you're not sure which way it's gonna go, because like I said before, she's setting those breadcrumbs up for us to muse about what could happen and what will happen in the books after this one. So lots is going on in this one. We also get to see a couple of the other courts in this book: the Autumn Court, the Winter Court, Dawn Court, which which is so cool to me because every court in its own right really, really cool and amazing, but Sarah J Maas just puts in these little details to make everything different and everything categorized and everything has a specialty, and it's just really great. We also get a look into a couple of other different creatures and characters in this one. Y'all know the Surreal is up in here, one of my favorite characters, and then of course other monsters and characters that we've seen throughout the series come to participate in this conflict. We also get to look into the different courts outside of the Fae realm that we are used to. There are other Faes and other human lands and other things that Sarah J Maas alludes to, which may come up in the next couple of books. I don't know, but she's also setting those breadcrumbs for us so that when we go on with the series, we will be able to reference back and be like, oh, she did talk about those dudes. We also get a lot of the Fae legends in this one, so there are tales of these legendary characters, and we get a lot of rich detail and rich storytelling with that, which I really enjoy because I like knowing a little bit more about the world and kind of how it came to be and that kind of thing, as well as the different kinds of people in the Fae realm, because obviously we have the High Fae, the Lesser Fae, but along with that we also get introduced to another type of people called the Peregrines. I think that's what they're called, but it's basically like the Illyrian warriors, but instead of having the bat-like wings, they have these feathery kind of bird-like wings. So we get introduced to those people in this book as well. Along with that, we of course get some background into a lot of other characters that we don't really care about or don't really understand, and it gives us a little bit more clarity, as well as characters that we hold near and dear to our hearts. And there are some spicy moments. Spicy moments. So getting into it, of course, this book is more about the conflict and our characters that we know and love dealing with that and preparing for that. So there aren't as many crazy like lust scenes in this book, which I kind of enjoy because it can get a little bit of 50 Shades of Grey, like repetitive at some point. So it's kind of nice to have a break from that. And there are like a few scenes where people are getting together, but it doesn't go into the details. Along with those love scenes between our near and dear characters, there is of course a lot of sexual tension between two of my favorite characters. And I really truly forgot about this, and this is the beauty of my brain. I will read something and then immediately forget it in a couple of months. So it was really nice to go back and to see a relationship forming between two people. I think one of my favorite tropes is when people fall in love, but they don't know that they like the other person, or they might know, but they don't want to admit it, and they don't admit it. They do not admit it to the person reading the book at all. You know what I mean? Like, I think that maybe is one of my favorite tropes, because then when it finally does happen, even though it hasn't happened yet, it's just so good. And there are so many powerful moments like that in this book. There were so many times when I was reading it and I was just like, God, that's just some good stuff. I'm like kind of getting a little teary-eyed about it. Okay. Whew. Lots of those kind of moments, and if you're not even into the plot, just be there for these moments, because I promise you it is worth it. I think I actually enjoyed this book the most out of the series after doing a reread. It is a 5-star for me. I know you guys probably already guessed, but yes, 5 stars. Loved this book. I will say that there are also a lot of lines that reminds me of other fantasy series. Like, for example, it just so happens that I'm reading Outlander at the same time as this, and I just read this part in Outlander where Jamie is asking Claire, he's like, will the wanting ever stop? Like, will I ever stop wanting you? I read that line, and then it just so happened that I was also reading this, and as I was reading this, Rhys asks Feyre, will the wanting ever stop? And I kind of was just like, you know, if I hadn't read Outlander just before this, maybe that would have done something for me, but it really just seemed like it was the same exact line. Anyway, so as far as originality goes, there are definitely themes in this book that have been taken from all kinds of mythology, all kinds of other fantasy influences, things like that, and it feels kind of like a patchwork of those things, but in its own story as well. So take that for what you will, but I really enjoyed this book just because there is a lot of action, but it's paced very, very well. I know that I've told you guys that all the action happens within like this amount of pages at the end of the book. That is not true in this book. It is evenly paced. paced and very well thought out, and it does still have these convenient moments that are wrapped up and packaged for the audience, but it didn't bother me as much in this book. There do seem to be instances where Sarah J Maas kind of put characters in our reading experience just to have them kind of taken away, and it kind of did seem like it was these characters that we didn't care too much about, you know, but I feel like that might have been a common courtesy so that we weren't sobbing by the end of this book. All in all, it's not the most heartbreaking thing ever. You will survive. It is a really great story. Another thing that I really enjoyed in this book is just kind of musing about what would happen. I was living for the Nesta character arc. My girl, Nesta. I just love her so much. She just changes so much, and it's not anything blatant or in your face in this book, but if you take the time to notice it, I just really appreciate this woman. Like, can she be my friend? But other than that, there's not too many bad things that I can say about this book. Like, I think that the combination of the war content, which I was living for, and I don't even like war scenes that much because I am not like a strategical person at all. It's laid out in a way that you can understand, and it's not very convoluted. So the war content was great. The political kind of like moves and planning that went into the preparation for the conflict, that was all done really, really well. Plus the relationships and the ways that the relationships moved throughout the book, it was just so nice. Like, this just... And we still have things to guess about. Like, she didn't give us everything because, of course, like, if we had to muse about it, this series is probably going to go on forever and ever and ever. But there are still things we don't know about everybody. So that gives us a lot of room to grow. All in all, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I thought it was very well done. There are some cheesy parts, of course, as I said, and some very similar things to some stories that I've already read. But other than that, I believe that this is a great wrap up to a conflict that occurs in the first couple of books in this series. So I highly recommend giving this book a chance if you are into fantasy and the political intrigue, kind of like the conflict aspect of fantasy, as well as if you're into a character-driven plot and fantastical settings. I have said this in every single one of her books, but she does have such a way in giving you the incredible vision of the setting with her words. It is just so good. And now that we actually know the characters and we know basically all the pieces that are on the board, this is a great story of how the game is played and a good continuation of A Court of Thorns and Roses. So as you guys know, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I would love to know if you liked this one as well. I know that the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, is a lot of people's favorites because of the relationship that's in that one, and that gets talked about a lot in that one. But like, does anybody have any other relationships that they like? Because I know my favorite one gets a little bud in this book, and I am living for it. I'm so excited for Silver Flames. Also, I have to have my little nod to Lucian, my boo-boo. Like, I really just feel his struggle in this book, and I cannot wait for us to get a little more light on his relationship and kind of what he's going through in the books that are going to come after this one. But anyway, I am going to wrap it up because obviously I've been talking about this book for a while now, but I think this is probably my favorite book in the series so far. So let me know down in the comments if you guys like this book or not, what you think, what your favorite book in the series so far is, and your thoughts and comments. And if you want to talk spoilers, please let me know and we can DM each other. I would love to talk about this book because I just love to go into the extreme details and be like, did you guys see this one part? And when I say see, I mean, did you read that one part like I did? Because I was squealing. I just have so many feelings. But anyway, so that includes the third book talk and also the third book in the ACOTAR series. The next book in the series we are going to be talking about is A Court of Frost and Starlight, and I will let you guys know if you really need to read that novella. Like I've said before, I feel like you should always read all the books in a series, but it is smaller than the other books, and you know, I know a lot of people are like, do I even really need to read it? Like, what is it about? And I think there is a reason for that book, but we will get into it in the next video. So of course, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell if you want to support this channel, because of course Monique and I are both going to be doing book talks in this small series, so we would love to know what books you guys would like us to talk about. So until next video, I will see you guys later.